Hey folks, did you know another candidate's name will appear on ballots in all 50 states? Here's the question. Who is it? Well, that's a good question. Hello everyone and welcome to Comcast Newsmakers On the Vote. I'm Robert Trainum. As always, thank you very much for joining us. My guest is Elliot Ackerman, Chief Operating Officer of Americans Elect. Elliot, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me.
So most people assume that obviously Barack Obama's name is on the ballot, whomever the Republican nominee is going to be. His name will be on the ballot, but there's another person's name on the ballot?
All right, well, what we're doing at Americans Elect is we're getting access to the ballot in all 50 states, and you get that by getting ink on paper signatures around the country. Already 2.5 million Americans have signed our petitions, and we're getting that for another choice. So if people are sitting around right now, they're wondering who's going to be on the ballot. Well, we know it's going to be President Obama on the one hand. We see a Republican field that's really narrowed down, and as that field's settling, all these Americans are galvanizing around this idea that maybe we can have more choice, and maybe we can see an independent, meaning an independent ticket from the two major parties, run in 2012. And that's all happening at AmericansElect.org.
Tell us about Americans Elect.
Well, basically, we are paving the way for an independent candidate to emerge in 2012, and we're asking every single registered voter in this country to participate in a convention, a real convention, where people will be voting for who is going to be on that ballot access line and who is going to run. And this is about getting leadership for the country that's able to put our nation's interests ahead of the interests of the two major parties.
We've seen back in 1992 Ross Perot trying to run as an independent person. We've seen in 2000 Ralph Nader, actually several presidential elections, Ralph Nader trying to run as an independent. There's some rumor and talk that perhaps Michael Bloomberg, the current mayor of New York, perhaps maybe Donald Trump, the entertainer / entrepreneur. What's wrong with the current crop of individuals that are going through the primary process and the people are electing these individuals? What's wrong with that group?
Well, I think what our problem is we have a political system that it's a duopoly, and there isn't any competition. And we live in a society that's based around the idea that competition is good in every other facet of our lives. So if competition is good in every other facet of our lives, why shouldn't it be good in our political lives? So what we're doing at Americans Elect is opening up the ballot, and then we've done that through citizens across this country signing our petitions so that every American voter can see more competition on the ballot in November of 2012.
Here's the cynic in me that I have to ask this question. How realistically and logistically feasible is something like this so late in the game? I mean, when you take a look at Mitt Romney, for example, who's been running for president for all intents and purposes since 2007, when you take a look at Barack Obama, for all intents and purposes, has been running for re-election since the day he got elected back in 2008, how realistic is for someone in 2012 to be a viable candidate on a third party?
Sure. Well, let's look where the American people are at right now. You know, we've got 81% of Americans who are dissatisfied with the way that they're being governed. You know, Gallup asks that every single year. You know, you brought up Perot. When Perot ran, the number was 39% of Americans were dissatisfied. A lot of people forget between March and June of 1992, Perot was up in all of the polls. And when he got out of the race, he was actually winning the race. So let's just open the process up. Let's see if we can get some more leadership in there. Let's see if we can get more ideas into the conversation, especially as we're sitting here today having a very spirited debate about contraception, which I'm going to be very bold right now and say perhaps that's not the biggest issue that we're dealing with. Let's get new people, let's get new ideas into the mix, and at the end of the day, that's just going to be a net positive for everybody.
You know, Elliot, political observers would say Ross Perot cost the election for George H.W. Bush in 1992. Ralph Nader cost the election for Al Gore in 2000. These individuals are nothing but spoilers. They really do not add to the public discourse, but they do everything but tear people down in terms of the people that are running for office. What is your response to that?
Well, let me give you two responses. The first is, the spoiler argument is a partisan argument. It's an argument coming from two established parties who say nobody's allowed to be on the ballot except for us. And if anyone is on the ballot except for us or expressing themselves politically except through our two funnels, they're spoiling it. For who? The only thing this is going to spoil is the stranglehold that those parties have on political expression in our country. And who is anyone in a party to tell you or me as a citizen that our vote spoils it? It's our vote. We should have competition in our politics, and we should be able to vote according to who we think is the best leader. But, you know, you brought up the Perot example again. You know, there is, amongst that partisan spoiler argument, this sort of old wives' tale that he spoiled it for Bush Sr. If you look at the numbers, it couldn't be farther from the truth. The exit polls from that election, 38% of the people who left the polls who voted for Perot said they would have voted for Clinton. 38% of the people said that they would have voted for Bush had Perot not been in the race, and the remaining 24% said that they wouldn't have voted at all. So let's open up the process. Let's get some new ideas in here, and again, we'll be the beneficiaries of that.
Last question. Come this fall, November of 2012, will there be a third person on the ballot as an independent or as a reform person candidate in all 50 states?
There will, and the question becomes for folks, do they want to have their voice heard with regards to who that person is going to be?
Elliot Ackerman, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And of course, thank you for joining us for this edition of Comcast Newsmakers on the Vote. I'm Robert Cranham. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care.